Hey YouTube, what's going on? Snowflakey's Emos here with another Master Duel deck profile. This is my Exodia Incarnate Control deck profile. This is a deck that I've enjoyed playing in the TCG a little bit, and it just revolves around a different type of Exodia strategy that is more focused on using the legendary Exodia Incarnate, which is a boss monster that I think is really cool, that doesn't get utilized a lot, as opposed to actually just quick drawing all the Exodia pieces as fast as we can. But it has the ability to still win by the effect of Exodia, or sit on a very high attack legendary Exodia Incarnate, which is going to be a boss monster with a lot of attack that's unaffected by other card effects, making it kind of hard to deal with without kaijus. So with that said, let's get into the card by card. Starting off, I am playing 3 copies of the legendary Exodia Incarnate. This is the namesake of the deck, and we're playing 3 of this card because we definitely want to see it, and having multiple is great. For those of you who don't know, legendary Exodia Incarnate is a boss monster that cannot be normal summoned or set. It has to be special summoned by attributing 1 forbidden 1 monster, which of course is the Exodia pieces, and cannot be special summoned by other ways. This card gains 1,000 attack for each forbidden 1 monster in your graveyard. We have 5 of those in this deck, so this card can get up to 5,000 attack, and it's unaffected by other card effects. That's what makes this monster so cool, is if you got 3 pieces in the grave at least, it's got 3,000 attack, which is really sizable, and of course, a 3,000 plus attack monster that's unaffected by other card effects, that limits an opponent's options as far as how to get rid of it. Maybe they can play a kaiju over it. Maybe they can do something like that. But otherwise, Exodia Incarnate is going to be a pain to deal with. So once per turn during your end phase, you add a Forbidden 1 monster from your graveyard to your hand. That's a way to get Forbidden 1 cards into your hand if you want to win with the alternative effect of Exodia. Although this effect is a little detrimental because it's mandatory, and sometimes we just want to keep everything in the grave. But it's kind of nice because we can refuel our material to use with our obliterate trap card, which works very well in this deck. So, pretty good effect overall when it comes down to it. And when this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, reveal any number of Forbidden 1 monsters in your hand, and if you do, draw 1 card for each. So that's a good way to get a desperate last attempt to actually draw the Exodia pieces. If it has low attack and can get destroyed by battle, then you probably have a lot of them in your hand, and then you're going to reveal them and draw lots of cards, 1 for each, which is going to be sweet. So yeah, kind of Exodia Incarnate, we want to stick him on the board, have some of these supporting trap cards to render our opponent's options, to give them less to do, and just have Exodia Incarnate beat them down. Continuing on, we are playing 1 copy of each of the Exodia pieces. Right leg, right arm, and of course Exodia the Forbidden 1. These cards are limited to 1 and are the pieces of Exodia. If you get all 5 pieces in your hand at any point, Exodia the Forbidden 1 automatically makes you win the duel. It is a secret mission in Master Duel as well, which is pretty cool. And so, we want to play the one of them that we can. We also need them to fuel legendary Exodia Incarnate, etc. For the rest of our monsters, I'm playing 3 copies of Sangan. Sangan's in here because when this card's sent from the field to the grave, he adds a monster with 1,500 or less attack from the deck to your hand. That is pretty much anything in our deck except legendary Exodia Incarnate because he's got that question mark attack. But that's pretty good. Get us an Exodia piece. In exchange, of course, you cannot activate cards or the effects of cards with the name for the rest of the turn. Not a big deal. We never need to do them since, those cards are mostly normal monsters. And we can only use 1 Sangan per turn. The other good thing, of course, is that it's dark, so that we can play an Allure of Darkness package. Likewise, we're playing 3 Witch of the Black Forest, which can grab everything in this deck because it's 1,500 or less defense, and that does allow you to search Legendary Exodia Incarnate because he's got 0 defense. And alternatively, being a dark monster means we can play Allure of Darkness. For our last monster, I'm playing 1 copy of Battle Fader. Battle Fader is just nice because it's another dark monster for Allure of Darkness. And in a desperate situation where we don't have anything on our board, we've set Sangan, it's been destroyed, our opponent's going to attack us and maybe finish us off, we can play Battle Fader, special summon this card from our hand, and end the battle phase. So pretty good stuff. So yeah, just tools to get Exodia pieces as quickly as possible, and of course dark monsters to fuel Allure of Darkness. Next, getting into our spell cards, we are playing Draw Engine. We are playing 3 copies of Allure of Darkness. We draw 2 cards, then banish a dark monster from our hand. If we do not have any, send our entire hand to the graveyard. This is not too bad because, like I said, we're not dependent on winning by the effect of Exodia, so we can banish an Exodia piece, or of course we can banish Battle Fader, Sangin, or an extra legendary Exodia Incarnate. And it's just nice to dig us through our deck as fast as we can. Works pretty well. Next, we're playing 2 Pots of Duality. Unless we're summoning Exodia Incarnate, we don't necessarily need to special summon on our turn. So Pot of Duality is just a nice tool to get us one of our game-winning trap cards, perhaps, or just whatever piece of the puzzle we're missing to get this deck online. Next, we're playing 3 copies of Pot of Extravagance. Our extra deck is not much in this. We can't really go into it that often, so we're going to turn it into card advantage. We banish 6 extra deck cards face down and draw 1 card for every 3, so, it's just going to be drawn 2. Now, we can't activate any other draw effects for the rest of this turn, which means we're not going to be able to use Allure of Darkness on the same turn, but that's fine. We can usually pass a turn or whatnot on that. Next up, I'm playing 1 Burial from a Different Dimension. Burial from a Different Dimension gives us a way to put our Exodia pieces that we might banish off of Allure of Darkness back into our graveyard, or if one gets called by. So just a good card to have, maybe worth considering running 2, but I don't know. Still running it at 1 for now. Don't tend to need more than 1. And last for the spell cards, Dark Factory of Mass Production. This is just a normal spell that allows us to target 2 normal monsters in their graveyard and add them to our hand. The Exodia pieces are, of course, normal monsters, so it's a quick way to, maybe burst a win if we have 3 in our hand and the other 2 Exodias are in the grave. Or if we stack twice of this card, we can make a cheesy play to just automatically win by the effect of Exodia, which is pretty sweet. We'll definitely take advantage of that. And that is it for the spell cards. Getting into our trap cards, we are playing 3 copies of Reckless Greed. Reckless Greed is nice because we draw 2 cards and skip our next 2 draw phases. Not bad. What's nice about this card is if we stack multiple Reckless Greeds, we're going to draw more cards and only skip our next 2 draw phases because of how it's worded. So theoretically, with 3 Reckless Greeds, we can draw 6, only skip our next 2 draw phases. What's also nice about Reckless Greed is you can do a play where if we have Reckless Greed set and it makes it to our next turn, we can draw for our draw phase. In the draw phase, activate Reckless Greed, draw 2 more cards, and if any of those cards are Pot of Extravagance and we didn't have one already, we can then play Extravagance to maybe draw for more cards, maybe a Reckless Greed. So it kind of alleviates that skipping of the draw phase, and it's just nice because it digs through our deck, gives us more chance to see Exodia pieces or game-winning floodgates that might be helping us out. Next, we should talk about Obliterate. Obliterate is the continuous trap card, came out in the same set as Legendary Exodia Incarnate, which was one of Yugi's legendary decks. And Obliterate is pretty cool because we can target 1 monster on the field and send a Forbidden One or Exodia card from our hand or deck to the graveyard. That's nice because that gets Exodia pieces in the graveyard so that we can bring them back with either Dark Factory or Legendary Exodia Incarnate, or just gets them in the graveyard so that Legendary Exodia Incarnate is pretty good. And in exchange, we get to bounce a monster on the field that can be either side of the field, so could be utilized if we were playing some monsters that had cool normal summon effects, but mostly we just want to use it to disrupt our opponent during their turn, bounce a card back from their field back into the hand. And that's pretty cool. And of course, if your opponent doesn't summon any monsters, no worry. You can target Legendary Exodia Incarnate just to send a piece to the grave. And of course, since Legendary Exodia Incarnate is unaffected by other card effects, it won't go to the hand, but still just gets us another card out of the deck. And it's pretty cool. We can use that on our turn, on our opponent's turn. So it's really easy to dump all the Exodia pieces as soon as we see this card. Of course, also, if this card is sent from the spell and trap cards into the graveyard, you can target a Forbidden One monster or Exodia card in your graveyard and add it to your hand. So that's nice. Gets us an Exodia piece if this card gets wiped. And, maybe that means we can win by the effect of Exodia. Maybe not. We'll take that. Next up, we're going to talk about our game winners here. I'm playing 3 copies of Dimensional Barrier. Dimensional Barrier is a pretty nice trap card to have in this deck because in a lot of matchups it can kind of blank an opponent's turn if we play it at the right time. We declare a monster card type, Ritual Fusion, Synchro, Exi, or Pendulum, and for the rest of this turn neither player can summon monsters of that type and also negate the effects of all monsters of that type while they are on the field. So pretty nice, Exodia Incarnate's just an effect monster. And, we're really trying to dig for summon limit, but having Dimensional Barrier is nice because we can play it and possibly disrupt an opponent's turn so bad that they pass it to us without being able to out Exodia Incarnate, which is pretty nice. Of course, our other floodgate we're running is 3 summon limit. Neither player can summon more than 2 times per turn. This card is our main win con because it works very well. Exodia Incarnate is incredibly hard to deal with without a kaiju if you can't summon more than twice per turn. And that card works really nice well with obliterate too, because if they summon 2 monsters, we can flip summon limit. We can send 1 back to the hand. That only leaves 1 on the field for Exodia Incarnate to crush with its incredible attack stat, which it will have if we have obliterate on the field. So Summon Limit is just a nice card to have. Next, I'm playing 2 copies of Waking the Dragon. This is for those pesky Lightning Storms and Harpy's Feather Dusters that I find all over Master Duel. Waking the Dragon is just a nice way to punish the total back row destruction, which they'll want to do if they see cards like Summon Limit and whatnot. And Waking the Dragon, of course, when its set card is in the graveyard or banished because of an opponent's card effect, we can special summon a monster from the deck or extra deck. Now we're not really using our extra deck, so we can fill it with things like Last Warrior from Another Planet, Raid Raptor Ultimate Falcon, Armor Master, Manchuria Exterior, just cards that are a super pain for opponents to deal with. And so, it's a good option. If you don't like Waking the Dragon, you can just run Solemn Judgment to negate those card effects, or negate anything else that's going to out your setup, or something even cheaper like Fake Trap works pretty well because we only really need to protect face-down trap cards. And Fake Trap is a card that can be destroyed as substitute. You could play Starlight Road if you got those in Stardust Dragons, and then summon Stardust Dragons. That's kind of a nice thing. So, plenty of options here for things you can switch up in the trap card lineup. But that's it for the main deck. Alright, going over the extra deck here, we're mostly filled with Waking the Dragon targets that we have maxed out as many as I have on here to cram in here because we want to have some after we play Pot of Extravagance. First, we have Last Warrior from Another Planet. Definitely is going to consider crafting a couple more of these. Last Warrior from Another Planet is nice because if the card's special summon, destroy all other monsters you control. This is nice because if you already have Exodia Incarnate, he's unaffected by card effects, so he's not going to get destroyed. And then neither player can summon monsters. What's nice about this is since we have Exodia and can win by Exodia, it is possible that if we play this and neither player can summon, we don't have to try to attack for game. We can just sit and wait. Now, an opponent might draw an out before then, but it does have an option. Naturia Exterio, of course, is a good option, 2800 attack, and has the ability to negate spells and traps as many times as you want per turn, as long as you have a card in your graveyard to start, because you'll need to banish a card from the graveyard and send the top card of your deck. So, certain matchups, that's pretty good. Next, I got 3 Blackwing Full Armor Master, pretty nice, 3000 attack monster that's unaffected by other card effects, which makes it, kind of hard to deal with. Also has another effect that when an opponent's monster activates an effect, you can place a wedge counter on that monster, and, you can target a monster your opponent controls with a wedge counter and take control of it. And then, of course, once per turn during your end phase, you can destroy all other monsters on the field that have a wedge counter. So, lots of good effects and just hard to deal with monster. Raid Raptor Ultimate Falcon, a 3,500 attack monster that's unaffected by card effects, makes it a lot harder to deal with because it has a high attack. And, you're going to need a kaiju or to get a higher attack than it. Lastly, just as some filler, I have a copy of White Aura Behemoth that I'm just playing here. This one's just a 3,300 attack monster that, during my opponent's turn, if I don't control tokens, I can then special summon a Divine Dragon token. And, that just gives another 3,300 attack body, so pretty good presence. And, of course, Draco Masters of the Tenyi, because he can't be destroyed by battle with an effect monster, so I can't just sit on him and wall. I wouldn't go into these two unless all these ones were banished. And, when I make more copies of something like Last Warrior, they're going to be cut. Other things that are in the extra deck are just some Link 1 stuff in case I need to get rid of my level 1 Exodia pieces for any reason. They're stuck in my hand and I want to get them in the grave real fast to make Exodia Incarnate. I can make Link Spider, which can special summon a level 4 lower normal monster from the hand to the zone this card points to. This is nice because I can play a normal Exodia piece, make Link Spider. If I have another one that I can summon that and tribute that one for Exodia Incarnate, it can come up, so it's very possible. Link Karibo, of course, which needs a level 1 monster, which, of course, is any of these or Battle Fader. And, when your opponent's monster declares an attack, you tribute it, change that attack to 0. Good for surviving. And, of course, Relinquish Anima, which requires a level 1 monster accept a token. Again, the Exodia pieces or Battle Fader work. And, if we can summon Relinquish Anima in a zone that it's pointing to an opponent's monster, we can take that opponent's monster. And this card gains attack equal to that attack. So, pretty cool way to snatch a monster. Just things to keep in mind. We don't go into it a lot. It's mostly extravagance fodder, but that's it for the deck. So here's a replay to show the deck in action. Looking at our starting hand, we have Sangin, Exodia Incarnate, Burial from a Different Dimension, Reckless Greed, and Obliterate. Not a great hand. Seeing Obliterate is nice, of course. We really wish we could see Summon Limit or Dimensional Barrier, so we have some way to try and blank an opponent's turn. But we're going to do what we can here. So we're going to start off our turn, of course. We're going to set Sangin, and we're going to set our 2 trap cards. Going to pass it over to our opponent. Our opponent is going to play Terraforming, add a copy of S-Force Bridgehead. Pretty interesting. I think this is like the only time I've seen S-Force on the game here. So, of course, they're going to send S-Force Rager Edge and summon S-Force Rappa and go into battle here. Try to do some things. We're going to use Sangin to grab an Exodia piece. That way we got Exodia Incarnate ready to go. Going to use the quick effect here to... So this is what I was saving Obliterate for. He's going to use his quick effect here to try to banish the S-Force from his hand, return that to his hand, and then special summon an S-Force from the deck. But if I send it to the hand with Obliterate first, that effect will not work because it didn't go back to the hand by his effect. So then he already committed to his normal summon, so I'm pretty certain I can convince them to blank the turn here, which they do. They set 2 cards and pass over to me. That's fine. I'm going to draw in the draw phase. In the draw phase, I'm going to chain Reckless Greed to draw 2 more cards, Dimensional Barrier and Summon Limit. Now, Dimensional Barrier is not going to be that great because S-Force, I think, is primarily a link deck. And, of course, Pot of Duality, though, is nice. I can dig into another Reckless Greed. I can dig into an Extravagance. Summon Limit is nice to see because now I'm going to be able to stop my opponent from making a lot of plays. We're going to start by summoning the Exodia piece. Summon Exodia Incarnate. He's got 2,000 attack. Now we're going to get hit with S-Force Chase. Target face-up cards up to the number of S-Force monsters you control with different names and return them to the hand. Going to send Obliterate back to the hand. Now I don't necessarily want to send this guy back to the hand, so he's got a normal summon effect, so I'm going to chain Obliterate right here. Send 1 more piece to the grave just to give Exodia Incarnate a little extra attack. Boom! There we go. Now, of course, I can't duality this turn because I played Exodia Incarnate, so I'm just going to set my trap card, Summon Limit, Dimensional Barrier, all nice stuff to have. Exodia Incarnate is, of course, going to add an Exodia piece, reducing him only to 2,000 attack. Could be a problem if he can summon something big, but with 2 summons, it's going to be a lot less. Playing another S-Force Bridgehead here, to add an S-Force monster from the deck to hand. I just rip Obliterate right here because I want to summon it before something happens. So S-Force, of course, Edge Razor comes out and summons a monster. This is where I change Summon Limit because now their turn ends after these 2 summons. They're not going to be able to do anything. I, of course, am then going to be able to use Obliterate, send Bridgehead back to the hand, give Exodia a little extra attack. We're going to start. I can't do anything with... I can't do anything in the draw phase because of Reckless Greed. We're playing Pot of Duality. We're going to add Allure of Darkness. Since I got Burial from a different dimension, I don't care if I don't draw anything and have to banish this Exodia piece. I can easily send it in the grave. There's my 2 Dark Factory of Mass Production. Pretty interesting because I can actually make a very powerful play here. To burst, add all these vanilla Exodia pieces back. And then, of course... use Exodia Incarnate to add the head back once I Burial from a different dimension in here. So I'm, of course, am going to play Dark Factory of Mass Production. Now, they're going to banish one of the pieces, so I only get 1, so I can't burst the win here. But I can Burial from a different dimension now to throw these cards back. Keep Exodia Incarnate with his high attack. Now we have 2 pieces in the hand. It's possible next turn that if I don't have to Obliterate, I can win by the effect of Exodia, so I'm going to be vigilant here. So he's going to summon S-Force Rappa, use the trap card in substitute of having to banish the card from the hand, summon another monster. Now Summon Limit has been bounced, so the summons can continue here. Of course, now we got S-Force Gravitino out, and, they are just passing the turn on that. So we're just going to start by playing Dark Factory of Mass Production. Get these 2 back in the hand. We're going to set Summon Limit just in case, and then I'm going to end the turn. Of course, they're going to play their card and summon an S-Force monster. They're going to try to make an S-Force combo, but I'm not too worried because Exodia Incarnate is unaffected by card effects. This allows me to use Exodia Incarnate's effect to add the last piece of Exodia and win by the effect of Exodia, which is pretty cool. You always get to see this cool animation, and you get some rewards. You get a title if you do it 10 times, win a game by the effect of Exodia. So there it is. So that is it for my legendary Exodia Incarnate deck profile. Pretty fun deck to play, of course. I love, monsters that get, huge attack stats like legendary Exodia Incarnate. And of course, one that is unaffected by card effects makes it really nasty once it's all set up. And extra bonus points for the fact that it's a Duel Monsters Classic in Exodia Incarnate makes this a pretty fun deck to play. Also not too expensive as a trap card deck player. I already have many of these cards. And of course, the Exodia pieces are all pretty accessible. It's pretty cool that Exodia Incarnate and Obliterate are just rares. And of course, all the Exodia pieces except the head are just normal, and Exodia is only a super rare. So if you have a lot of trap cards already, it's not that expensive of a deck to make. So figured I might as well just add it to my collection. Now, of course, this is a deck I would recommend if you're looking to climb. It's not a great deck, of course, mostly just something I bust out when I want to play something fun in the low ranks at the start of a new season and, play casually or with friends. So, overall, though, it's a lot of fun. Appreciate you checking out. Love to know what you're doing with Exodia and Master Duel. Thanks for checking out this profile, and I'll catch you in the next one.